おい、ジョーちゃん、大丈夫か
ガビ、やりすぎだ。
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of 2FAST2MOVIE. I'm your host Abraham, and with me is my co-host Ben Collins, here to talk about another fantastic episode of Attack on Titan. Things are ramping up very, very quickly. We're getting politics, and they're much more interesting than they were in Season 2. I must say. I think that was a point where I was kind of out of touch with the series, and I didn't know the direction it's headed in.
We were getting a little Star Wars prequel in just how much politics we thought we were able to stand.
Yeah.
But hey, Season 2, it made it all worth it with the politics eventually. Yeah. But it's just, you gotta let that slow burn happen. And right now, this time, the politics look like they're going to burn up into a not at all relevant today, some sort of populist terrifying movement. So, you know, it will be fun, guys. It will just be fun.
Yeah,
nothing
guys.
Terrifying, just fun.
Lots and lots of fun here on the episode talking about populist movements and their relevancy in 2021 here in the United States. But hey, enough about that. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, because guess what? That helps us out so much in the long run. We found out 66% of you are not subscribed to the channel. So hey, click that button. It helps us out a ton. And spoilers ahead for this episode of Attack on Titan titled Deceivers. So the title, on its surface, applies to Gabi and Falco, who escaped from prison by bashing in a guard's head in with a brick, lovely, running through a nearby forest, and meeting up with a girl named Kaya. Posing as brother and sister, the two make their way to Browse Farms and are introduced to Sasha's family. Later, Kaya informs Gabi and Falco that she knew the two were from Marley by overhearing them in the forest. Still not revealing their true identities to anyone, she brings them to her abandoned hometown where her mother was eaten by a Titan. Gabi tries to fall back on her indoctrinated beliefs about her devil race, but Kaya refutes that her mother had nothing to do with any of the ancient sins that Gabi talks about. Lastly, we find out that Kaya was rescued by Sasha way back in Season 2. And the reason that she is helping Gabi and Falco now is that she wants to be a person like her. They're just not letting the Sasha thing go. Oh my god.
No, it's they've taken that death and like a good old brick in a knapsack have beaten us over the head with it.
Let's not make that a saying. Yeah, I really like what they did with this episode. I think a lot of people were blindsided by Sasha's death, especially at the hands of Gabi, and really resented her for that. And I think that now this presents a new opportunity for audiences to re-like Gabi as much as we did back when she blew up that train.
It's interesting because the fandom has spoken and kind of doubled down. You can find GIFs everywhere of people just... There's like videos of Gabi getting punched in the face for a whole hour, which I'm sorry, guys, but it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
This is like a complex character, and we get a lot of that this episode. I'm hoping that we can get some more Gabi stans, or at least, if not stans, people that can just understand that she is heavily indoctrinated in her beliefs, and this entire experience has just shattered all of them.
Yeah.
And she has room to grow as a character. As to if she is going to... which direction she's going to go in, we're not sure. Because, honestly, I feel like this whole experience has opened up exactly how complicated this conflict is to her. And beforehand, I think this is something that we only really understood that Falcon knew.
Well, I think Gabi is only now starting to understand. It still hasn't set in 100%. But the fact that she is now, I think this might be the first time she's being challenged on her beliefs. because the moment that Kaya is breaking it down for her and refuting all of her arguments about ancient sins and even the recent attack on Marley, which her mother was already dead for, it's playing into something that we hoped that we'd see, which is the cyclical nature of hatred and how it can be broken. How really it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. That's the end of that's really the lesson that should be taken away from this.
Yeah. I'd agree. It's hopeful, and it's nice to see that this is existing in the series. I've already voiced previously that I'm kind of worried about the direction that this story can go in. Mm-hmm. But it's really nice that when Gabi is being challenged about it, she's being challenged by someone that has no ill will towards her or her people at all.
Right.
It's just someone that wants her to see eye to eye and acknowledge the things that happens. And even though Gabi doesn't do that, Falco does. Falco gives her the reason why her mom had to die, and it wasn't as simple as we wanted vengeance on you because we hated you. It was a tactical attack to see if something would be drawn out.
Yep. And she just got caught up in the crossfire, really.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate, but I mean, really, such is the nature of war. There are civilian casualties all the time. It's also another thing to mention that the entire Eldian conflict is, because we're talking about this from a Marley versus Paradis conflict. But if we're talking about Eldians, which is what Gabi is talking about in this moment, we should always remember she and Falco are Eldian.
Yeah.
The only reason why that they believe what they do is because they have been trained to believe that they are somehow different than the people on Paradis. They're not. They are the same people. And it's especially upsetting when Gabi starts talking this way, because in actuality, she may as well just be talking about herself.
We even get this whole scene in the first act of the episode where Falco is trying to take this armband from her and she refuses to let it go because in her mind, it's the only proof that she has that she's a good Eldian. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that this will start challenging her and we'll see some growth. However, there's also the unfortunate chance that, and I'm more inclined to believe that this is where this is going to go based off of what we've seen in the storytelling and the fact that she seems to be so similar to Eren as a character, is I think she's going to double down. I think she's going to, this is like any racist or person super indoctrinated in beliefs, when their belief system is challenged, the immediate reaction is to double down further to feel more comfortable.
Yeah. And she did double down, actually, like in that moment after Falco tells the truth to Kaya. Gabi looks at Falco and says, "How could you tell the enemy our secrets?" or something to that effect, which just kind of shows that though she was shaken up by the conversation and definitely didn't have an answer as to why her mother died, she still doesn't grasp that the humanity in other people, which is very troubling. I hope it doesn't come to that, but it's likely.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about because Gabi and Falco we can only talk so much about. Let's talk about everything that happened on Paradis with the military. So we find out that a group consisting of Floch and a few other new recruits has leaked information to the public about Eren's imprisonment. The townsfolk are confused and suspicious, especially since Eren has been considered a savior by Paradis since the very start of the show, since season 1. They're also worried that the military has started to evacuate the Shiganshina district, where Eren is from, the place of the basement. Hanji decides to jail the leakers for their insubordination, and we also find out that one of the new recruits, Luis, is the girl that Mikasa saved in season 1. As Luis gives a salute to her, Mikasa clutches her head and has another migraine. She also remembers the time that Eren saved her in season 1, but this time it is presented in a very different light.
That's
so first
an
off,
understatement.
yeah, that's an understatement because we'll talk about the Dutch angles and the creepy imagery. We'll get there. We'll get to that. First and foremost, I gotta say, I don't like Floch, but I respect Floch. Do you know what I mean?
I'm glad that you opened up with you don't like Floch, because I'll still refer to him as Shithead McGee as I have versus
totally
every other episode.
He is absolutely 100% a shitface.
I don't know if I still necessarily respect him, though. There is some dichotomy to this, and there is a mirroring of Floch's group to Eren and Mikasa's group, and we'll get into that a little bit later, and I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
However, it's kind of like to me, it's as Hanj states it. Eren's already won. They're gonna have to do the rumbling now. They're gonna have to go through with Zeke's plan. There was no point in leaking this information. All that he did was create more of a headache for her.
So going back to the respecting of Floch, the only reason why I say that is just because if you remember where Floch started, a person who was cowering at the thought of charging the Beast Titan back in season 3, and now he is confidently telling the leader of the military that he leaked information for the good of humanity and that he must be released immediately. Those with stone cold expression. I just can't help but look at the character growth on it, for better or for worse.
I think it's for worse.
It totally is for worse. But I'm saying I enjoy the conflict from a viewer perspective.
I will say there has certainly been growth. Mm-hmm. However, I'm not above stating that there's still cowardice in his approach, because in reality, he still doesn't want things to be held accountable. It seems like he wants the ability for things to go on perfectly without any problems, and he doesn't really want to face the fact that Eren did something that was, while there is some good of it for you guys on a tactical standpoint, it is going to have repercussions, and Eren does need to answer for that. He's not infallible, and you made an argument beforehand, and I thoroughly disagree with this, that Eren currently hasn't done anything wrong yet. It's not
as cut and dry as that, because it's not that Eren hasn't done anything wrong in the sense that he's definitely done morally irreprehensible things. He has killed civilians as an act of war in a group setting, but given everything that's happened from season 1 to season 3, it is very acceptable given the context of the show and the world that they have set up that Eren is did that one act, because that is literally what happened to his hometown. It could be seen as taking revenge, or it could just literally be seen as starting the fight that is bound to happen. I mean, Willie Tybur was going to declare war anyways. You may as well take up the top brass and execute a plan to get Zeke and execute whatever your plan is. I'm saying that from their perspective, technically they have a lot more legs to stand on than Hanji does, especially when it comes to the public. From their perspective, they had been eaten by Titans for 100+ years by a country and a world that they didn't even know existed. And once they learn that, there's gonna be people who say, "No, I don't like these people. We need to fuck them." And then there's others who are going to say, no, we need to have peace. But the peace isn't necessarily... Like, it's a very hard thing to accept peace, especially under 100 years of constant conflict, living in such
I feel like
grotesque war environment.
I feel like it's more than 100 years, actually. How long ago was the... Because it didn't seem like King Fritz was like 1 or 2 generations away. It seems like he was...
It was 100 years.
It was 100 years?
Because every 13 years, they have to eat a Titan.
Oh, yeah, so, you're right. So it would feel like there's been close to a dozen Titans.
Yeah,
since then.
Because there have.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was like doing the math in my head. I'm just like, I feel like more people had the throne.
It doesn't seem like 100 years, but I mean, it is. So
well, also everyone had their mind erased and thought that they were living like that for eternity. So it's a messy situation, and I don't. At this point in the story, I can totally see why an audience member would look at Eren's actions and say that they are justified, because the show itself is grappling with that question. Is Eren justified in his actions? I'm worried. And again, this is what we opened up the show with, when we're seeing you said townspeople, but I feel like it's more accurate to say this is the people of Paradis as a whole that are having this reaction to the leaks. Mm-hmm. And there is what is very obviously a populist movement growing around Eren, to the point where they even say the statement that Eren will lead us into the new world. Yeah.
They're also calling it the new Eldian Empire.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty scary thought when you're considering that the old Eldian Empire supposedly committed eugenics, dominated the entire world. It's a pretty frightful thought.
Yeah. It's and my whole fear with this story, and also currently the fandom as a whole, is the amount that we're willing to stick with Eren, despite the fact that at least right now it appears that he's going down this I don't want to say Hitler route, but he's kind of going down the Hitler route.
I mean, yeah, if we're going through if the parallels to Nazi Germany are accurate, yeah,
it's gonna be a tough one, and I'm worried. And even going back into Eren's character even further, we haven't even touched on the flashback from Mikasa.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, I want to know what you think about this, because I thought about the moment that they showed it in and why they showed it in that moment. And if you remember, that was the time that Mikasa, like, for lack of a better term, imprinted on Eren and started, like, treating him as, like, someone to be protected, someone to look up to, and someone to, like, hold dear. And pairing that with the salute that Luis gives, I'm wondering what the connection is between the two. I know that it's there.
Well,
and it's like twisted loyalty, perhaps.
I'd say perhaps not twisted, but just loyalty in general is what's happening. Because when Mikasa joined the military, it was to protect Eren. When she makes that salute, we know that it's not to the government and to her people. It's to Eren.
Yeah.
She will follow that man to the grave.
And Luis expresses that too in the cell. She's like, you did this that's the whole reason why you joined. You and me were on the same page, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But for Mikasa, it's not... protecting Eren isn't about populism or the message that he sends. It's that she owes him a life debt because Eren saved her from what I can only assume, based off of the story, looked like some sort of sex trafficking.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was a very dark chapter, and the way that it presents it back in season 1 or 2, I forget when we were shown this.
This was 1.
This was season 1.
Way back.
We see Eren kills this man even though he's never killed before. And he does it with very little hesitation.
Yeah.
And back then, I don't think we were as shaken as we should have been because we had just seen so much violence. But I think it's important for everyone that there was peace within the walls at this time.
Yeah, for 100 years of peace. No Titan attack.
No, exactly. So what Eren did at that point, the fact that he had no hesitation, and when they show it to us again, they show it like it's a horror film. Like Mikasa is remembering why she wanted to protect this man, but she's also now realizing that he is a horribly violent person.
Yeah.
And even though we see Eren when he is a lovely human being and just an amazing character, but at his core, he's capable of being a sociopath.
Yeah, the way that he talked about those people, it was like because they failed to see the humanity in Mikasa, he just didn't even see them as people. I think there was even a dialogue beat that said like they were like animals in like human skins, like pretending to be humans.
From season 1?
Yeah, that's how he talked. He talked about those people like really.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that doubles down on the conflict in this final season. I know that the author says that he just writes as he goes, but man, if he does, he is real good at keeping track of his themes.
Yeah, I think a lot of this had to have been outlined out. It had to have been, because there's no way you just accidentally get all these. Like, I can believe like the Sasha thing was like, I'll do this now, or like Luis and Floch. Like, I can believe that those characters were pinned in. I cannot believe that Eren, like, you just so happen to think, oh, you know what? I think I'll make this guy a sociopath in the final season and call back on all the insane shit that he did in the first 3. There's no way.
Yeah.
He had to know.
Yeah, it's it just has to be there. And then of course, along with that, there's even this other pattern that we're seeing, and we get a nice dichotomy of this because for the first time, I think we're actually foiling Eren, Mikasa, and Sasha, of 3 people that we see being idolized for their actions in the past this episode.
Yeah.
And being put on a pedestal, because every single one of our main characters has been a hero to the people of Paradis in some way or form. And just seeing how each of them are being held to some sort of different standard, or sometimes the same standard, is sometimes hopeful and sometimes a little bit scary.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about just the level of stuff that they did. Like, they basically found out the entire world existed. They overthrew a tyrannical and secretive government that suppressed their memories. Like, the shit that they did is the stuff of legends. Why wouldn't you want to be like Mikasa? And like Eren.
Yeah.
They called Eren a savior back in season 1, and they were right, because he literally brought them everything that they have now, a greater understanding of the world.
Hey man, this is a really good story. All things as nervous as I am about the final outcome, it's a really good story.
Yep, I'm enjoying the ride. Let's now cap off, before we talk about the preview, let's quickly talk about Marley, because we do get a little bit of a peek of what's happening there. As Reiner wakes up, Commander Magath tells everyone that there isn't enough of Zeke's body for him to be dead. In addition, they have the 3D maneuver gear and know that it is imbued with Marley tech. In other words, they know that Zeke has betrayed them, and they plan to attack Paradis in 6 months. Reiner objects, claiming that Zeke will be expecting that, and in order to have a fighting chance, they must attack now. There's not much to talk about in this part.
It's going down.
Pretty much, that's what's going to happen. War's happening. Like,
we're likely to see the next battle begin either in this next episode, the episode after that, or after the mid-season break.
Well, that's actually a great segue to now talk about the preview, because we can talk about the two things in tandem. Because in the preview for the next episode, we don't see much. Mostly it's people talking to each other. However, we do see a large explosion coming from a building. And the episode is titled Guides. So while we were doing the pre-show, we talked. Could this be the surprise attack? Honestly,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably not.
Unless there is because it's going to take them a while to get to Paradis, unless there's a month time skip. And also, we don't know what's happening with the, we know of a surveillance drone that's being built and stuff that I don't believe is being, it's using iceberg stone, and it's coming from, what's the name of the empire?
The Osmobitos.
The Osmobitos. And we don't quite know what's going to happen with all of this. There's a lot of pieces put in place. And, keep in mind, at this point, in just Paradise alone, I think there's 3 to 4 factions that you can actually count right now. You have the volunteers with Zeke. You have the Survey Corps and leadership of Hanj. You have the upper brass that wants to see Historia removed. And you have the Marlayens that are currently in servitude who seem to be serving up some sort of poison. Yeah. And they're all at odds with each other right now.
Okay, yeah. So that's great analysis of the situation. That's 4 factions.
That's 4 factions that are all currently at odds with each other. And then you can add the Osmobitos, and then you can add Marley. It's just a total clusterfuck can happen next episode. And
I don't think it's next episode. I think that's the explosion of the final.
It's going to be the final shot.
That's going to be the final bang. Yeah, everybody coming at odds with each other. It has to be. But so then what is this?
The explosion?
If that's the explosion, everybody coming together at the end. If that's the explosion, maybe this is the gunshot. Maybe this is the first spark.
And the real question is I think we're going to see some way. I think that we could potentially be looking at an assassination attempt on Hanj based off of the building that we've seen exploded.
I hope not. I
love that character so much, and I just want more of her all the time.
It would make a lot of sense, especially given the conversation that happened, or the flashback that happened with Hanji.
Oh, wait. I haven't even included the populist movement. No, that's 5 factions.
Yeah. But Hanji had a flashback where she was talking with the priest, one of the Wallists, who they imprisoned, and he was saying something along the lines of, if it's everyone's turn to wear the hat, and eventually your time comes to an end, and you must pass it on to the next movement, you must pass it on, essentially. So for Hanji, they're implying at least that she could die, and if she would die, it would make sense given her arc and her character. It would suck.
It would be tragic. Yeah. The big reason why I'm scared of that is it removes the leadership, and then Eren is free to do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. Because there's no clear successor after Hanj right now. I think maybe Armin.
It is Armin, actually. Armin is second in command under Hanji.
Then it would have to fall on him, and fortunately he's a Titan shifter, so he's a legend in his own right now, but he's the most dangerous Titan shifter that there is, and he's also the most gentle soul, so
yeah,
we'll see. I don't think we can rely on him turning into the Colossal Titan in the middle of,
because it would kill
city.
Everyone.
Yeah,
it would literally kill all of his friends if he was near them.
Yep.
Yeah, but look, things are ramping up very, very quickly in the show, and I think you and I are in agreement. We are worried, but hopeful. There's enough here that you can tell a story that sends the right message. It's still possible.
It still is. I'm worried currently about this turning into... I've said it before. It could turn into a Fight Club situation where even though it does tell the right story, it potentially has teetered around its points enough to allow some audience members to really hang on to the wrong message.
Yeah.
But that is really going to come down to how it is being executed in its actual final.
Right.
So
we'll
see.
We will see indeed. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of 2FAST2MOVIE. If you like this, you should also check out our other podcast, Return of the Movie, which we post here on YouTube and also on Spotify. Just look up Return of the Movie on Spotify or Amazon Music, and you will find us. You should also check out another episode of 2FAST2MOVIE where we're covering WandaVision. Check it out by clicking one of the end cards. You'll check that out. It's being hosted by Kenny and Jose. It's a grand old time if you love Marvel stuff. And, as always, it's 2FAST2MOVIE.